This is Gerardo Del Real live from the 2023 Beaver Creek Precious Metal Summit. Joining me today is the CEO of Regulus Resources, Mr. John Black. John, it's great to see you. How are you?
Great to see you. Doing well.
Let's get right into it. You have what a lot of major mining companies want. You have a large, scalable copper asset in a good jurisdiction surrounded by multiple operators that could really benefit from an asset like yours. Yeah, you have a market cap that should be much higher, and clearly you have interest from some of the major investors out there because you're attracting the right kind of capital, you're attracting the right eyes. Let's talk about the project and let's talk about the recent news.
Okay, great. With Regulus, we have the Antacore project. It's in northern Peru in the province of Cajamarca, not far away from Yanacocha, which many will be familiar with. It's a large copper gold asset. We intentionally seek large copper projects. They're even better if they have a substantial gold credit, which is absolutely what we have in this project. We're in a very active district. There are two mines nearby to us, Goldfield Cerro Corona mine and the Tantahuatay mine of CMC, which is a joint venture between Southern Copper, Buenaventura, and Espro operating that. And that joint venture is mining the oxide cap over a very large copper gold sulfide deposit that's partly on their ground and partly on our ground. So it's a complex district, it's a complex land position, but the opportunity here is for moving from two pretty good-sized mines that are nearing the end of their mine life and making a transition into a much longer-lived mine that goes forward, and we think we have an integral part of that. It sounds like we only have a piece of a deposit, but to put that in context, we have 250 million tons of indicated mineralization and another 267 million tons of inferred mineralization. So combined over 500 million tons of mineralization at about a 0.7 copper equivalent grade, which is about 60% copper and about 40% precious metals. So that's an attractive size deposit if it was just that alone. And the neighbors have a very sizable amount of mineralization on their ground as well. So when you combine that, it's the type of project that's catching the eyes of all the major copper and gold companies going forward. So it's a very interesting opportunity. It's a little bit of a complex play. There's some work done to get the setting right to go forward, but I really like it. It's effectively a brownfield setting, which is also very important because it's much easier to make a transition from an existing mine into a larger mine than it is to start a brand new mine from scratch. So that's what's drawing a lot of interest from majors, and I'm sure we'll be able to talk about one of the more interesting developments with Rio Tinto coming in as a major shareholder for us.
Let's get right into that, right? The strategic maneuvering is clearly already happening, right? And it's going to be fascinating to me to see it play out over the next year or two. I don't think that Regulus in its current form will exist in the next year or two. I believe you get taken out. We'll see if that proves to be accurate, but the positioning and the maneuvering is definitely happening. You mentioned Rio Tinto. Got to chat about that.
Yeah, the big new development this year has been that in the early part of this year, we announced a strategic placement with Rio Tinto coming in at an over-market placement at $1.02 per share, more than we're trading at right now. And they placed $20 million Canadian into our group. And that's to establish a position for themselves to help them monitor the project as going forward. But it's also very importantly to allow them to test what they refer to as their Newton technology. So it's a division of Rio Tinto that's made the investment into us, Rio Tinto Newton. And what that is Rio Tinto, like many major copper companies, for decades have been seeking a solution that would allow them to heap leach primary sulfides. In a copper deposit, we have secondary or more weathered sulfides near the surface, and primary sulfides that are unweathered at depth. The secondary sulfides are amenable to SXEW heap leaching. Instead of milling and producing a concentrate and sending to a smelter, you heap leach in pads and you produce pure copper cathode on site. But we've never been able to do that with the primary material. Rio Tinto believes they have the technology to do that now, and they'll be performing test work on our material to see if this goes forward. What we're very excited about, we of course have a lot of interaction with them and know quite a bit about the process, and I share their optimism that I think it'll work very well on this project. But if it does work on the project, it has some tremendous benefits. It lowers the capex. You don't have to build a mill, you don't have to build a concentrator, you don't have to export your cons. You don't have tailings. Tailings are a big concern for major mining companies, and it's very costly for us to find nearby, safe, secure places to store the tailings. So we get around that issue. It stabilizes the arsenic in the deposit into scorodite, so it puts that into a non-soluble form, which is a good environmentally friendly way to handle that material. it also uses a lot less water and a lot less power. So the ESG benefits of this are tremendous. And so that's what we're excited about it. We don't need the Newton technology to work on our project to have a profitable project. But if it works as well as we anticipate, it could turn a very good project into an even more outstanding project.
And a more profitable one, right?
Yes.
Which in turn is going to increase the
Profitable one and with less impact on the communities and areas around, more flexibility on how you build it. So to me, it has some very exciting possibilities moving forward. Not just for ourselves. I think this is a technology that could be very important. We've all talked about the necessity of copper to go forward with the EV revolution or the green revolution on this. One of my concerns about whether we'll meet the goals for that is whether we can produce enough copper.
Sure.
I think this technology will help us as an industry to produce more copper. So I couldn't be more happy to be involved with this and testing this work to see how it goes forward. And it happens to put us in a great cash position to do what we need to do to get this project over the top.
When do you anticipate results from those studies?
They have completed preliminary work on the project as part of the basis why they made the investment into us. Those are agitated flash tests. They're small tests under high energy, high temperature conditions. It's a proof of concept, effectively. The next step is we move to column leach tests, which is simulating more the pad conditions. So we're prepping the materials now. We'll send whole drill for to them to use in the column leaches. We're just getting that material packaged up and prepared in our facility in Cajamarca. We hope to land that within the next month in the lab in Australia where they'll do the test work. It takes about a year to have the complete results from that test work. There'll be interim results as we go along, but it's plan on about a year for us to know how well that might work.
Excellent. In the meantime, what can we expect?
This is a project that requires a little bit of patience because we really have the resource pretty well defined now.
Right.
We do have the option to continue to drill.
Right.
But as we're drilling to the north, we're extending we're out on the margins of the deposit. And quite frankly, when we look at the system overall, we're drilling in areas that would be in year 30 or 40 of the mine life. So finding more mineralization there
less valuable.
Doesn't really affect the NPV of the project very much. And it burns cash. And right now we think some of that cash is better spent on other activities in the area, more purchase of surface grounds and a lot of work with the communities. We have some really exciting work going on. One of the projects I can mention is what we call pastos mejorados, or improved grasses. And this was an idea of one of our young social teams, an agronomist by background. He came up with the idea that, particularly on the Trevor side of the project, a lot of the economy depends on sort of informal dairy farming. Every house has 3 or 4 cows. They produce the milk that they sell to the local artisanal cheese factory going forward. And his approach is to go right to the big, true grassroots of the system and help them grow better grass. And so we're in their government programs that provide materials and seeds and forests on this. So it's a low-cost effort for us, but we're helping the families double the production of grass and improve the quality of the grass as well. And then that directly results in better milk production and higher quality milk production. So they get better income.
Right.
And then the cheese factory gets better milk and more milk, and he can increase his production. And the chain effect on this is incredible. And I think where I saw the real breakthrough on this is we started with families that are close by to the area that we work. We now have groups from farther afield calling up and asking if they can be involved with the program. And some of these are areas that are far enough from the project that they typically don't receive benefits from the project. And they're sometimes the area that we're concerned about most because they know the project is there, but they don't receive benefits. So many times that's where complaints about a project come from. And this allows us to reach out and expand the footprint of the project. So it's part of what we consider de-risking the project. Our strategy is to acquire the opportunity, drill it out, show what we have, and then de-risk it. And that de-risking sometimes doesn't produce things we can talk about publicly. It's not a share price moving thing, but it's incredibly important. I think investment there adds just as much value right now as additional drilling to the north.
Agreed. Where's the market cap?
Market cap's about 100 million Canadian right now, so that's significantly lower than what we'd anticipate the value of this project when we get to the point of a transaction.
And how much of that is backed by cash?
Right now we have about 20 million in cash, so we're in a very comfortable position, which is an anomaly right now. As we're here in Beaver Creek, so many of my peers are desperately seeking cash, and it's very hard to do a private placement right now. So having that strategic partner in Rio Tinto and also Route 1, are the fund that backs us and is backed all of our projects, is very supportive of what we're doing. So we're in somewhat of an enviable position of having plenty of cash to go forward right now, and we're sitting on a great project in what I think is a sector that's going to take off in the next year or two.
I couldn't agree more. John, always a pleasure.
Thanks.